By way of introductions, I'm a task force leader and Incident Commander 4. I've fought my first wildfire in 1981, so I've been doing this a few years. And I also teach these topics at a state college in Tacoma, Washington. And I also own a fire services company. So what I hope to do today is we're going to talk about some of the wildland-urban interface watch-out situations. And we're going to prioritize our response objectives and then take that information and try to formulate some strategies and tactics. So you're going to bring your people home at the end of the day. And that's the idea, is to bring your people home and try to minimize property loss of life, property loss, and bring your people home. Now, the pictures, with a few exceptions, pictures in here are the pictures that I've taken on the incidents that I've worked on in the last 30 years. This was down near Quincy, California, Canyon Complex a few years ago. Now, as I've taught this class in a lot of settings, people say, well, you know what, we're a structural fire department. We just don't, that wildland stuff, you know, that wildland urban interface stuff, you know, that's for a different department. And people think of California when they think of these big wildland fires. And I was down in San Diego in 2003. And I was assigned to the Cedar Fire. And if you guys recall, that the Cedar Fire went about 300,000 acres, give or take a little bit, killed about 25 people, took down around 3,100 homes. It's one of the largest fires in the world of its type. And I was on that fire. And we tend to think of those types of incidents when we think of wildland urban interface fires. But every department in the United States, in one way or another, has this risk. Anytime you have vegetation coming up next to structures, you have an interface problem. Now, your problems might be different than the ones that I saw in Colorado or Wyoming or Idaho or California or New Mexico. But you do have these issues. Now, this summer, this June, I was on the Waldo Canyon fire outside of Colorado Springs. Some of you may have heard about that fire. Killed a few people, took out, in one evening, took out 350 homes. When you think of fire, a wildland urban interface fire, this is a classic. This is a poster child. This is tragedy all over the place. Chief, how would you like to have to deal with the evacuation of 30,000 people in a matter of hours? It boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. But they had to deal with that. Because if any of you have been to Denver or Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, along that front range, you know that the mountains just sit right behind those towns. Well, the fire had set up in those mountains, and it burned around there for a few days. And finally, they got some west winds and pushed that down into the city of Colorado Springs. And that was a disastrous night for the Colorado Springs Fire Department. Now, I was on the back side of that smoke column. So I was up on the mountains trying to keep it from going down into the town. And it blew past us and went down in. And when I did get down off the mountain that night, we were seeing pieces of roofing material falling out of the sky 5 miles from that smoke column. So you talk about, you think about the convection that would be required to pick up a big piece of roofing material and toss it 5 miles away. So the energy that's released in a fire like this is unfathomable. And the bottom line is these are some of the most dynamic, dangerous, costly fires in North America.